The massive war room aboard the Galactic Empire's flagship Dominion's Edge buzzed with activity. Holographic displays showed star maps spanning 3 solar systems, each dotted with red markers indicating human defensive positions. General Vexstar, a towering Corthanian with 4 arms and scaled purple skin, gestured dismissively at the tactical readouts. "These humans continue to amuse me," Vexstar said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 species. "Look at their pathetic strategy. Instead of massing their fleets for a proper battle, they scatter like frightened insects across asteroid fields and moon bases." Admiral Zephelin, a graceful Etherian with translucent blue skin, nodded in agreement. "Their fleet composition makes no sense either. Heavy cruisers mixed with tiny scout ships, no unified formation. It's like they're trying to lose." The other military leaders around the Holotable laughed. Commander Throkol, a heavily armored granite skin, slammed one of his stone fists on the table. "My people conquered the fierce warrior clans of Sigma Prime in 3 days. These soft humans will fall in one." What none of them knew was that Staff Sergeant Elena Vasquez was listening to every word. Hidden in the ventilation system of the Empire's flagship, she had been gathering intelligence for the past 6 hours. The human infiltration specialist had volunteered for what many considered a suicide mission: get aboard the enemy command ship, gather tactical data, and somehow make it back alive. Elena had been chosen not just for her stealth skills, but for her unique background. Before joining the Terran Defense Force, she had been a competitive precision shooter and later a military sniper with over 300 confirmed eliminations. More importantly, she understood something the Empire didn't. Humans didn't think like other species. Through her earpiece, Elena transmitted the intelligence back to the human fleet. "Command, this is Ghost 7. The Empire thinks our scattered formation is weakness. They're planning a concentrated assault on what they believe is our main fleet position near the 3rd moon." The response came quickly from Admiral Sarah Chun, commanding the human forces. "Copy, Ghost 7. Continue monitoring. We're proceeding with Operation Longshot." Elena smiled grimly. Operation Longshot was exactly what it sounded like. While the Empire prepared for conventional warfare, the humans had something else planned entirely. Back in the war room, General Vexstar was explaining his battle strategy to his subordinates. "We will concentrate our entire battle fleet here." He pointed to a cluster of human ships near the mining colonies and crush their main force in a single decisive engagement. Once their fleet is destroyed, the remaining humans will surrender rather than face orbital bombardment of their worlds. "What about their scattered units?" asked Admiral Zephelin. "Irrelevant," Vexstar waved dismissively. "Small groups cannot threaten a concentrated battle fleet. We'll hunt down the survivors after our victory." This was exactly the kind of thinking that Elena had expected. The Empire had conquered so many species using overwhelming force and traditional tactics that they couldn't conceive of any other approach. They saw the human formation as chaos when it was actually precision. Elena began moving through the ship's maintenance corridors, heading toward the engine room. Her mission had a second phase that no one except Admiral Chun knew about. While gathering intelligence was important, her real objective was far more ambitious. The Dominion's Edge was more than just a flagship. It was a symbol of Empire power. At over 4 kilometers long and bristling with enough firepower to level a planet, it had never been defeated in battle. The Empire's leaders believed it was invincible. Elena knew better. Every ship had weaknesses and every system had failure points. During her reconnaissance, she had identified the vessel's critical vulnerability, the quantum resonance chamber that powered its main guns. A precisely placed explosive charge would create a cascade failure, not enough to destroy the ship, but enough to cripple its primary weapons. As she crawled through the narrow maintenance shaft, Elena thought about the human fleet's real strategy. While the Empire saw scattered ships, what they actually faced was a distributed network of highly mobile units, each with specific objectives. Some were tasked with hit-and-run attacks on supply lines. Others were positioned to provide crossfire during the main engagement. and a select few carried special payloads designed to exploit specific enemy weaknesses. The Empire's intelligence had failed to understand one crucial fact about human warfare. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years before they reached the stars. Every tactic the Empire knew, humans had already used, countered, and improved upon. The scattered formation wasn't weakness. It was adaptation. Elena reached the engine section and began setting her charges. Small, nearly undetectable explosives that would activate during the height of battle. She wasn't trying to destroy the ship outright. That would have been impossible for one person. Instead, she was creating an opportunity. Through the ship's hull, she could feel the vibrations of the massive engines preparing for faster-than-light travel. The Empire fleet was moving into position for their assault. In 6 hours, they would drop out of hyperspace, expecting to find confused human defenders waiting to be slaughtered. Instead, they would find something the Empire had never encountered before. A species that had perfected the art of making the impossible shot. Elena finished her work and began the dangerous journey back to her extraction point. The hardest part of her mission was still ahead. Getting onto the ship had been difficult, but getting off while it was in combat would require timing, luck, and skills that pushed even her abilities to the limit. As she moved through the ship's corridors, Elena passed groups of Empire soldiers preparing for battle. They laughed and joked about the coming victory, confident that their superior numbers and firepower would carry the day. None of them noticed the small human woman in stolen maintenance coveralls who walked past them carrying what appeared to be routine equipment. Elena reached her extraction point, a rarely used cargo bay near the ship's stern. Her ride was waiting, a specially modified human stealth fighter that had attached itself to the Dominion's Edge's hull like a parasite. The pilot, Lieutenant Marcus Torres, had been holding position for over 8 hours. "Ghost 7, this is Extraction 1, came Torres' voice through her earpiece. "We've got company inbound. Empire patrol ships are starting their pre-battle sweep." Elena checked her chronometer. The timing was perfect. In 30 minutes, the Empire fleet would begin its assault, and her charges would activate exactly when the flagship's weapon systems were drawing maximum power. Extraction 1. "I'm ready for pickup," Elena whispered as she entered the cargo bay. Through the bay's viewports, she could see the swirling colors of hyperspace beginning to fade. The Empire fleet was dropping back into normal space, expecting to find an easy victory waiting for them. What they found instead was exactly what the humans had planned. A carefully orchestrated trap that would teach the Empire why humans had survived every challenge their harsh homeworld had thrown at them. Elena's mission was complete, but the real battle was about to begin. As she prepared to board the extraction craft, she allowed herself a small smile. The Empire was about to learn why human military doctrine emphasized one principle above all others: adapt, improvise, and overcome. The war room of the Dominion's Edge erupted in surprised shouts as the fleet emerged from hyperspace. The human formation they had been tracking was gone, replaced by something far more complex and threatening. Where the Empire expected to find a concentrated fleet, they instead faced dozens of small units positioned throughout the system, each one targeting a different aspect of the Empire's battle plan. General Vextar stared at the tactical display in confusion. Where is their main fleet? Where are their heavy battleships? Admiral Zephelin was frantically running sensor sweeps. "Sir, I'm detecting human units throughout the system, but they're all small formations. Cruisers, destroyers, and escort vessels." "Then we'll destroy them piece by piece," Vextar declared. "All ships begin attack formation. Target the largest human concentrations first." What the Empire didn't realize was that they were looking at warfare from an entirely different perspective. While they thought in terms of massive battles and overwhelming force, humans thought in terms of system-wide objectives and coordinated strikes. Elena's intelligence had confirmed what human strategists already suspected. The Empire's tactics relied on conventional thinking. They would concentrate their forces, attempt to achieve local superiority, and crush their opponents through sheer firepower It was a strategy that had worked against every other species they had encountered, but humans weren't like other species. Humans had learned warfare in an environment where resources were limited, enemies were clever, and survival required constant innovation. They had developed tactics that emphasized mobility, precision, and exploiting enemy weaknesses rather than matching their strengths. As Elena's stealth fighter detached from the Empire flagship and accelerated toward the human fleet, she could see the beginning of something the Empire had never experienced. A battle where being bigger and stronger wasn't enough to guarantee victory. The real lesson was about to begin. The first phase of the battle began exactly as Admiral Chun had predicted. The Empire fleet, confident in their overwhelming firepower advantage, moved into standard attack formation. Their massive dreadnoughts formed the center line while smaller vessels spread out to provide flanking support. It was textbook galactic warfare, proven effective against dozens of conquered species. General Vexstar watched from the bridge of the Dominion's edge as his fleet advanced. Begin primary bombardment of the human positions near the mining colonies. Once we've destroyed their main force, we'll hunt down the scattered survivors. The Empire's heavy guns opened fire, sending streams of plasma and particle beams toward what they believed were the primary human defensive positions. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as Empire weapons found their targets. For several minutes, it seemed like the battle would proceed exactly as the Empire had planned. Then something unexpected happened. The primary human positions they had been targeting turned out to be decoys, sophisticated holographic projectors, and automated defense platforms designed to look like full battle stations. The Empire had just wasted enormous amounts of ammunition destroying empty metal shells. "Sir," Admiral Zephelin reported with growing concern, "sensors indicate those positions were unmanned. We've been firing at decoys." Before Vexstar could respond, the real human attack began. From positions throughout the asteroid field, human ships emerged from hiding. But instead of engaging in direct combat, they immediately began targeting specific systems on Empire vessels. Engine clusters, weapon arrays, sensor banks, and communication hubs all came under precise, coordinated fire. Captain Maria Santos commanded the human destroyer Relentless from a concealed position behind a massive asteroid. Her crew had been waiting in silence for over 3 hours, monitoring Empire communications and tracking the movement of their target, an Empire heavy cruiser designated as their primary objective. "Target acquired," reported her weapons officer, Lieutenant Kim Park. "Empire cruiser Devastator, range 4,000 kilometers. She's turning to pursue one of our decoy signals." Santos smiled. The Empire ship was presenting its weakest armor. Profile, completely unaware of the threat lurking in the asteroid shadow. "All weapons, target their engine section. This is a precision strike, not a slugging match." The Relentless emerged from concealment and fired a concentrated barrage at the Empire cruiser's propulsion systems. Specially designed human kinetic. Rounds punched through armor plating and detonated inside the engine compartments. Within seconds, the Devastator was crippled, its engines destroyed and life support failing, but Santos didn't wait around to finish the kill. Before the Empire ship could even identify its attacker, the Relentless had disappeared back into the asteroid field, already moving to its next position. This scene repeated itself throughout the battlefield. Human ships would emerge from concealment, deliver precise strikes against specific targets, then vanish before the Empire could respond effectively. It was the space-age equivalent of sniper warfare, and the Empire had no defense against it. On the Dominion's edge, General Vexstar was growing increasingly frustrated. His tactical displays showed Empire ships being damaged or destroyed throughout the fleet, but his forces couldn't seem to locate the attackers long enough to return effective fire. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our sensors should detect any ship large enough to pose a threat." Admiral Zephelin was studying the sensor data with growing alarm. "Sir, the human ships appear to be using some form of advanced stealth technology combined with the asteroid field's natural interference. They're essentially invisible until they attack, and they retreat before our targeting systems can lock on." What the Empire didn't understand was that humans weren't using advanced technology to achieve these results. Instead, they were using superior tactics combined with intimate knowledge of the battlefield. Human surveyors had been mapping this asteroid field for months, identifying every hiding spot, plotting every approach vector, and calculating optimal firing solutions for dozens of different scenarios. More importantly, human doctrine emphasized something the Empire had never encountered: patience. While Empire forces were trained for quick, decisive battles, human military philosophy taught that the best shot was worth waiting for, even if it took hours or days. Sergeant Major Rebecca Reaper Johnson exemplified this philosophy. Positioned in a specially modified stealth reconnaissance ship hidden deep within the asteroid field, she had been tracking Empire fleet movements for 6 hours. Her ship, the Whisper, was barely larger than a fighter but carried the most advanced targeting systems in the human fleet. Johnson wasn't looking for just any target. She was hunting for something specific: the Empire's command and control vessel. Through careful analysis of communication patterns and fleet movements, she had identified her prize, a heavily armored command ship designated Strategic Mind. The Strategic Mind was coordinating Empire fleet movements and would be crucial to their battle strategy. Destroying it wouldn't end the battle, but it would severely disrupt Empire coordination and give the human fleet a significant advantage. Johnson had been following the command ship for 3 hours, learning its movement patterns and identifying its vulnerabilities. The vessel was heavily shielded and well defended, but every ship had weaknesses. Johnson just needed to find the right angle for the perfect shot. Her opportunity came when the Strategic Mind moved to coordinate a flanking maneuver against what appeared to be a concentration of human forces. The command ship had to expose its more lightly armored sensor arrays to maintain communication with the flanking units. Target acquired, Johnson whispered to herself. She had one shot. The Whisper carried only a single torpedo, specially designed for this mission. It was equipped with advanced guidance systems and a warhead capable of penetrating heavy armor, but it had to be fired from close range to be effective. Johnson maneuvered her tiny ship through the asteroid field, using the natural cover to approach within striking distance. The Empire command ship was only 2 kilometers away. Its sensor arrays fully extended and completely vulnerable. She fired. The torpedo streaked across the void, its guidance system making minute adjustments to ensure perfect accuracy. It struck the Strategic Mind's primary sensor array and detonated, sending fragments of metal and electronics cascading through space. The command ship wasn't destroyed, but its ability to coordinate fleet movements was severely compromised. Suddenly, Empire units throughout the battlefield found themselves operating independently, unable to coordinate effectively with each other. This was exactly what Admiral Chun had been waiting for. From her flagship Determination, she gave the order that would begin the second phase of the human battle plan. All units execute Alpha Strike. Target priority vessels and prepare for close engagement. Throughout the asteroid field, human ships that had been playing cat and mouse with the Empire fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of hit-and-run attacks, they began concentrating their fire on specific Empire vessels. Multiple human ships would emerge simultaneously from different hiding spots, overwhelm a single Empire target with coordinated fire, then disappear before reinforcements could arrive. The Empire found itself facing something they had never encountered: an enemy that refused to fight by established rules. Human ships appeared and vanished like ghosts, striking at weak points and avoiding direct confrontation with superior firepower. General Vexstar watched his carefully planned battle deteriorate into chaos. Empire ships were being picked off one by one while his forces struggled to even locate their attackers. This wasn't warfare as he understood it. It was something far more dangerous. "Sir," Admiral Zeppelin reported grimly, "we've lost 17 vessels with minimal damage to human forces. Our battle formation is breaking down and individual ships are requesting permission to withdraw." Vexstar slammed his fist against the tactical display. "No withdrawals. Order all ships to concentrate fire on the asteroid field. If we can't target the human ships directly, we'll destroy their hiding places." It was exactly the reaction Admiral Chun had predicted. Faced with an unconventional threat, the Empire would resort to brute force solutions. They would try to eliminate the entire battlefield rather than adapt their tactics, but the human fleet had planned for this possibility too. As Empire ships began bombarding the asteroid field, human vessels emerged from concealment and began the most dangerous phase of their strategy, close-range combat using the debris of destroyed asteroids as cover. Elena Vasquez, now safely aboard Admiral Chun's flagship, watched the battle unfold on the tactical displays. Her sabotage mission had been successful, but the real test was yet to come. The Empire still had superior numbers and firepower. The question was whether human tactics and determination would be enough to overcome those advantages. As she watched Empire ships struggling to adapt to human strategies, Elena remembered something her grandfather had told her years ago. He had been a sniper during the Terran colonial wars, and his advice had shaped her entire military career. The best shot, he had said, isn't always the first shot. Sometimes you have to wait for your enemy to make themselves vulnerable. Sometimes you have to make them think they're winning right up you. The Empire's bombardment of the asteroid field created exactly the chaos Admiral Chun had hoped for. Massive explosions sent chunks of rock and metal spinning through space, creating a deadly debris field that made navigation treacherous for the large Empire vessels. But human ships, smaller and more maneuverable, used the destruction to their advantage. Captain Santos guided the Relentless through a cloud of asteroid fragments, using the debris as cover while stalking her next target, the Empire heavy cruiser. Ironhammer was attempting to withdraw from the asteroid field, its captain apparently realizing that the confined space favored the more agile human vessels. "They're learning," observed Lieutenant Park from the weapons station. "Not fast enough," Santos replied. The Iron Hammer was moving in a predictable pattern, following standard Empire withdrawal procedures. But those procedures had been designed for conventional battles, not for this kind of three-dimensional maze of deadly debris. Santos positioned her ship behind a tumbling piece of asteroid nearly the size of a city block. The Iron Hammer would have to pass within 800 meters to clear the debris field, presenting a perfect target profile for exactly 12 seconds. "All weapons ready," she ordered. "This time we're going for the kill shot." The Empire cruiser appeared exactly where Santos had calculated, its thick armor gleaming in the light of distant stars. For those 12 seconds, it was completely exposed and moving in a straight line. The Relentless fired everything it had. Kinetic rounds, plasma torpedoes, and focused particle beams all struck the Iron Hammer's hull simultaneously. The Empire ship's shields collapsed under the concentrated assault, and its armor cracked like an eggshell. Secondary explosions rippled through the cruiser's hull as ammunition stores detonated. Within 30 seconds, the Iron Hammer was a dead hulk drifting through space. This pattern repeated throughout the battlefield. As human crews demonstrated, the principle that had made them feared throughout their own solar system: precision timing combined with overwhelming firepower at the decisive moment. On the bridge of the Dominion's edge, General Vexstar was beginning to understand that his forces faced something far more dangerous than he had initially believed. The humans weren't just using unconventional tactics. They were demonstrating a completely different philosophy of warfare. "Sir," Admiral Zeppelin reported with barely controlled panic, "we've lost 40% of our fleet. The humans are systematically destroying our vessels while taking minimal losses themselves." Vexstar studied the tactical display, trying to understand how the battle had gone so wrong. His forces still outnumbered the humans, but that advantage was disappearing rapidly. More troubling was the realization that human tactics were specifically designed to neutralize Empire advantages. "They knew," he said quietly. "They knew exactly how we would fight." Admiral Zeppelin nodded grimly. "Sir, recommend we withdraw and regroup. We can call for reinforcements and return with overwhelming force," but retreat wasn't an option for Vexstar. The Empire had never withdrawn from a battle against an inferior species. Such an action would be seen as weakness by both his superiors and his subordinates. More importantly, his personal honor was at stake. "No," he declared. "We will not retreat from these primitives." All remaining ships concentrate on the flagship. If we destroy their command vessel, their coordination will collapse. It was exactly the decision Elena had predicted during her intelligence briefing. Empire commanders were trained to think in terms of decisive battles and clear victories. Faced with an unconventional threat, they would resort to increasingly desperate measures rather than admit defeat. The Dominion's Edge and 12 surviving Empire heavy ships began moving toward Admiral Chun's flagship Determination. It was a bold move that concentrated the Empire's remaining firepower into a single overwhelming assault. Against conventional opponents it might have worked, but Admiral Chun had been waiting for exactly this moment. "All units, execute Operation Headshot," she ordered calmly, throughout the debris field. Human ships that had been hiding in the wreckage of destroyed asteroids suddenly emerged. But instead of the scattered vessels the Empire expected, they found themselves facing a carefully coordinated formation of 43 human warships, all positioned to create overlapping fields of fire around the approaching Empire force. The humans had been playing a much deeper game than the Empire realized. While appearing to conduct random hit-and-run attacks, they had actually been positioning their entire fleet for this single decisive engagement. Every previous action had been designed to draw the Empire fleet into this exact position. Elena Vasquez stood beside Admiral Chun on the bridge of the Determination, watching as the Empire ships walked into the trap. "They're right where you said they'd be, Admiral?" Chun nodded. "The Empire thinks in terms of single battles and clear objectives. They couldn't conceive of a strategy that required sacrificing short-term advantages for long-term positioning." The Empire ships suddenly found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had emerged from concealment at optimal firing ranges. Every approach vector was covered, every escape route blocked. The hunters had become the hunted, but Admiral Chun wasn't ready to spring the trap yet. She had one more surprise prepared for the Empire. "Elena," she said quietly, "activate your charges." Aboard the Dominion's Edge, Elena's sabotage finally revealed its purpose. The small explosive she had placed in the quantum resonance chamber detonated precisely as the flagship's main weapons charged for firing. The cascade failure she had engineered didn't destroy the ship, but it did something far more valuable. It disabled the primary weapons of the Empire's most powerful vessel at the critical moment. General Vextar stared in shock as his flagship's main batteries went offline. "How is this possible? Our weapons were functioning perfectly moments ago." Admiral Zephelin was frantically checking system displays. "Sir, there appears to have been a catastrophic failure in the quantum resonance chamber. All primary weapons are offline and cannot be restored without extensive repairs." The timing was perfect. Just as the Empire fleet committed to their final assault, their flagship lost its primary armament. But the trap was only beginning. "All human vessels," Admiral Chun ordered, "commence precision targeting. Take out their engines first." What followed was a masterclass in coordinated fleet action. Human ships fired in carefully timed sequences, each vessel targeting specific systems on specific Empire ships. They didn't waste ammunition trying to destroy heavily armored targets. Instead, they systematically disabled engines, weapons, and life support systems. The Empire ships, designed for heavy frontal assault, found themselves completely unable to respond effectively to attacks coming from all directions simultaneously. Their weapons were designed for long-range bombardment, not close-quarters combat against multiple agile opponents. Captain Santos, commanding one of the human attack squadrons, coordinated strikes against the Empire ship Endless Fury. "Blue Squadron, target their engine cluster. Green Squadron, take out their weapon arrays. Red Squadron, disable their communications." The Endless Fury tried to turn to bring its main guns to bear, but human ships struck its maneuvering thrusters before it could complete the rotation. Particle beams severed communication arrays while kinetic rounds penetrated engine housings. Within minutes, the massive Empire dreadnought was powerless and adrift. This scene repeated throughout the Empire formation as human crews demonstrated something their enemies had never seen: perfect coordination combined with individual initiative. Each human ship captain understood their role in the larger plan while remaining free to adapt to changing circumstances. General Vextar watched his fleet being systematically dismantled with growing horror. This wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. The humans were showing the Empire exactly how outmatched they were. "Sir," Admiral Zephelin said quietly, "perhaps we should consider surrender. Our situation is hopeless." Vextar considered this for a long moment. The Empire had never surrendered to an inferior species. Such an action would be unprecedented and humiliating. But the alternative was the complete destruction of his fleet and the loss of thousands of lives. Before he could make a decision, Admiral Chun's voice came through the communication system. "General Vextar, this is Admiral Chun of the Terran Defense Force. You are surrounded and outmatched. Surrender now, and I guarantee the safety of your crews." The offer was more generous than the Empire would have made in similar circumstances. Vextar knew that Empire policy was to demand unconditional surrender and execute enemy commanders as examples. The humans were offering terms that would allow him to save lives and maintain some dignity. "How did they know my name?" he asked. Admiral Zephelin looked uncomfortable. "Sir, they seem to know a great deal about our operations. I believe they may have had intelligence assets aboard our ships." Elena smiled slightly as she listened to the exchange. Her mission had accomplished far more than just gathering intelligence or sabotaging the flagship. She had demonstrated something that would terrify the Empire more than any military defeat. Humans could infiltrate their most secure facilities and strike at will. General Vextar made his decision. "Signal the human fleet. We surrender." The battle was over, but the real victory was just vague.